So this is from The Guardian, which, when you realize how ridiculous this is, it will not surprise you in the slightest. But Congress came out with this tool to see if Congress reflects you. Now, I don't know what the difference is between representation and reflection in this as they're using it in this article. But from what I can tell, whether Congress reflects you is something that very few people care about, nor should they care about. And representation is something that people do care about. The average person does care about whether their views are represented in Congress. So for some reason, they choose to determine reflection, which seems to be something, again, it kind of annoys me. Not so much annoys, but astounds me that people are concerned with this in the slightest. But the quiz includes all of the important questions to determine if Congress reflects me, and they are whether or not what my gender is. So I'm a cis male. Let's see, there's 520 people in Congress, which you can see below there. See, I'm a cis male. So that brings me down to 403 people 403 people are like me. Ethnicity, white. Orientation, I am straight. Age, I am under 35. And religion, I am non-religious. And 0. Not a single person in Congress is like me. Now, that does not annoy me at all. That does not concern me at all. Now, I'm actually, if anything, I'm kind of proud of this in that whenever people just say, "Oh, you're just straight white male. You're talking about this issue that you have no reason to talk about. You're talking about all this." Apparently, I am not represented in the slightest in Congress. The U.S. government, of which I am a citizen of, does not represent me at all. There are 0 people. Reflect me. They do not reflect me at all. There are 0 people like me, apparently. So at least I get to pull that card when people complain about representation. But again, I know I'm using the terms interchangeably, but it astounds me that these are the questions that they think are important. And apparently some people must find these important enough to where they made a quiz about it. But this is, I can't think of a word for it. It's not frustrating. It's not so much anger that I'm getting, so much as, I guess, disappointment. I feel astounded by that this is a thing, that the most important thing to the average person is apparently whether or not their congressman is like them in this this term here. When people talk about being like you, someone is like me. Like, if someone is like me, that means they hold similar views, similar interests. I would say their culture is overall pretty much the same. But other than, like, those are what people, that's what I use when I think of if someone is like me. I mean, if someone shares my views and hobbies and interests and grew up around me, and it turns out they're like a black, lesbian, non-binary person, they're still kind of like me. At least that's how I would consider it. They're kind of like me. But according to this, if someone has the same interests, same views, but they are the non-binary black lesbian, apparently they're not at all like me. Focusing on the real important issues here, someone's race, someone's gender. But yeah, this when I saw this I was like, okay, this is video worthy, because I almost didn't believe it existed until, because I saw the title of it, and people on Twitter were saying, like, this is cancer, and I'm like, oh, what could it possibly be? And even this surprised me, though. I guess I shouldn't be surprised. But note here, if this like, I have to wonder this. I have to wonder, why is that so important? It's like, that's not how you move forward in a society. That's not how you evolve. Like, if you want a multicultural society, this should not matter to you. If you want a diverse society, this should not matter to you. That's the thing. It still astounds me how, like, this is the kind of thing. This is why people are becoming all right. Not to excuse them becoming all right, but this is something that I would imagine being posted on the Daily Stormer, some neo-Nazi website. This is something that I would not be surprised to find on a neo-Nazi website. Someone saying, oh, does Congress represent you? Well, are they the same race as you? Are they straight just like you? Are they, like, those kind of things? Do they share the same religion? Now, the religion one I can kind of understand, because, I mean, it doesn't matter to me really that much. what your religion is in Congress, but I can understand that. Like, it's part of a belief system. I get that. Like, if you're Jewish, then sure, if someone is, if a candidate is Jewish and that factors into how you vote for them, like, I don't see that as a bad thing. That's fine. If someone is Hindu, and obviously, like, if they share your religion, I can understand you factoring that into your views. I have nothing against that. But it seems rather weird that you would vote for someone considering their skin color, their race, or same thing, obviously, their gender, their age, even. Like, when it says under 35, no one is under 35. Well, honestly, that it reminds me of being a child. It reminds me of when I was 10 years old or somewhere around then. And like TV shows were all about, like all the kids shows talked about like, oh, we'll run by kids. Wouldn't that be cool? Or imagine if kids were in charge. That would be cool. It was all like, hello, fellow children kind of thing. It was all like, yeah, kids as a group. Aren't we great? And then you grow up and you're like, I don't really care. Like, age isn't that important to me, honestly. When it comes to Congress. Honestly, if I want older people in Congress, like I want someone to be older. Again, that's not a defining factor. That's not something I usually consider that much. But I mean, all things being equal, all other factors being equal, I wouldn't care. But overall, like I could honestly say I prefer older candidates because they have more life experience, because they've learned more. They're again, this is something where it's not always the case, and it's not even the case most of the time. But generally, like, hey, if you're probably smarter if you're older, and all other things being equal, because you have more experience, you've had more time to learn things, and such like that. So, honestly, if someone under 35, I don't see that so much as a bad thing, but it's like they're inexperienced in the world. It's something that, overall, again, I wouldn't consider it. I wouldn't really factor it in much, but that's something to keep into account. Like, under 35, I don't see as a benefit. The fact that someone's similar to my age, I don't see as a benefit. I mean, I can't even run for the Congress or the Senate. I'm too young. And I don't see that as a bad thing. But anyway, that was the whole point of this. I'm just so astounded. Why is this so important? And someone might say, like, I can hear the people already saying, like, you don't know what it's like to, like, you're a cis male. What was it? You're a cis male. You have, of the 520 people in Congress, 403 people are like you. You have no right to complain. Let's see, you're white. So 406 people in Congress are like you. Like, why would you complain? Like, you don't understand what the issue is. You're straight. 518 people in Congress are like me. That whole thing. But when you fill them all out, apparently nobody is like me. And I do not find that a problem in the slightest. What I do find in it, actually, again, in this context, I don't find that an issue. What I do find an issue is what people believe. And the fact that people are considering this important is concerning, because it means you're not voting for their ideas, you're not voting for their opinions, you're voting for their race or their gender, which it's not a qualifier. Like, that doesn't make you better or worse. That's very concerning. And again, the under 35 thing, like Ocasio-Cortez, I don't know how old she is, but she's apparently the youngest member elected to Congress, and I don't find myself agreeing with her on very many things. I don't feel very represented by her, because it just so happens that she ticks a few of the boxes on this thing that happened to be like me. But yeah, it's a tad bit concerning. I guess that's a good word for it. Concerning that people are that this is something that people would take this test and be like, ooh, that's interesting. Like, I find this valuable. I want this number to be higher, whereas I'm completely apathetic to this number, except for, as I said earlier, it's kind of neat that this number is lower, because then when people try to say, oh, you wouldn't know what it's like, 0. But that's really it. Let me know what you think. I'll leave the link to the test in the description if you want to take it. I suppose if you don't want to give them clicks, then don't do that, because we don't want to reward this kind of behavior. But again, it's actually, this brings me up to a quick thing. Representational first. I found it very interesting when they were talking about, everyone's talking about all these milestones. Like, again, Ocasio-Cortez, youngest woman elected to Congress, first black House member elected to Massachusetts, or from Massachusetts, or something like that. All those kind of milestones based on race and gender and that. And overall, it's like, okay, when it comes to religion, like if you want to feel represented with your religion, fine. I don't see it as a bad thing that there's more representation. I just don't see it as again, representation in the sense of this. I just don't see it as a good thing. It's a neutral thing to me. But I found it interesting that when they were talking about all these milestones, they just happened to leave out the few milestones created by or caused by people with an R next to their name. I just found that interesting that they left those people out for some reason. It seems that apparently the representational milestone doesn't count if you have certain opinions. But and this is coming from someone that does not have an R next to their name either in terms of party affiliation. But thank you so much for watching. Like the video if you enjoyed. Subscribe for more. And thanks for watching.